What is up, my friends and fellow BusyBees? I hope you're all doing well, and if you received my Friday Furniture Focus newsletter, then you know that I have been leaning hard into the spring vibes lately and all of the renewal that comes with that, and the nicer weather making an appearance after the long, cold Canadian winter. Cleaning, organizing, getting things knocked off of my to-do list, and getting super motivated and productive with my furniture makeovers have been realities for me over the last few weeks. Thank God, because to be honest, the couple weeks, or let's get real, months before that wasn't really the case. The first quarter of this year, I was feeling like I was totally in hibernation mode and really wasn't super motivated or able to accomplish a ton of furniture. A big part of that was getting the puppy and the sleep deprivation and adaptation to a new routine and way of living, but I'm not so precious to not know that people don't get puppies literally every day and continue to live productive, normal lives, so that excuse really only goes so far, but let me tell you, boy did I milk it. The reality is, there's just points in time or seasons where we don't inherently feel that drive to flip furniture or do whatever else it is that we need to get done to be productive. And that is totally normal and totally fine. However, if you need to kick your ass into gear, I wanted to do an episode today that goes over some questions that you can ask yourself or strategies that you can implement to see if they work for you to get you out of that slump or overall feeling of what I have coined feeling blech. Innovative, I know. The first thing I like to do once I recognize that I'm in that headspace or haven't been as productive as of late is to take stock of the things in my life and try to do some detective work to figure out what's different compared to normal when I'm feeling good. This can help to sometimes identify where that motivation block may be. Have I not been sleeping well? Have I been eating really shitty lately and maybe I just need to get some more veggies in me or get back on my supplement regimen? Have I not been working out consistently like I know I should be because I feel incredibly energized when I do so and get so much more accomplished? Maybe there's been a lot of social events and things like that filling up my calendar lately and I haven't been recharging like I need to. Hello, I'm an introvert, so that's making me feel depleted. Or alternatively, sometimes I find that I actually end up getting more done the busier that I am because I just have to whip through the things on my list because there's just so much on there, so things get accomplished much more quickly. So do I maybe need to fill up my calendar a bit in order to give myself a kick in the ass? All useful questions to ask. If there's nothing on the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, or nutritional front that seems to be contributing to it, then maybe look at the work that you're putting off in general and see if there's a motivation block there. Is there maybe a barrier that you've run into on your project so you don't want to try and tackle it for fear of messing it up because it's something that you've never dealt with before? Does it require some research and you're too distracted by your phone to sit down and actually do what you need to do to find the answer for how to move forward? If that's not the case, then maybe zoom out a bit and take a look at where you're working on said project. Have you been a sloppy Sally lately and stopped sticking to your organization system for your supplies, and so maybe the workshop is a fucking disaster? I know for me, the environment that I'm in is a total reflection of what is going on in my life and in my head. And so when I walk into a space that looks unkempt and chaotic, that is a surefire way for me to want to turn right around and walk right back out. Because I just know that I'm going to either go in and work on stuff and be cramped, or I won't be able to find anything that I'm looking for, or I will just kind of half-heartedly work on the piece while trying to slowly put things back into their place, and essentially just half-ass both of those tasks. In that case, what would be far more productive for me and the type of person that I am is to stop, forget about the furniture makeover for a second, and just focus on putting things back where they're supposed to go, sweeping up, and getting everything into good working order before turning my attention back to what I need to do. That way, I'll be able to breathe and just feel more at peace with the space that I'm in. I also find cleaning and organization and all that stuff very therapeutic, so sometimes I just need to take that time and space to do that in order to clear my head and just to be able to concentrate on what I need to do. Another approach that almost always works for me to get my shit in order and get me back on the right track when I'm feeling unmotivated or overwhelmed or whatever the feeling may be that's keeping me back from getting my work done is to make a list. I am a huge list gal. I have sticky notes and notepads throughout my house so that they're always available when I need to get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper before I inevitably forget them so that I can get everything done that I need to. I find it really helps to free up mental energy for me because instead of having to continually think about some task or an appointment or whatever it may be that I need to remember, since I have an absolutely horrific memory these days, writing everything down also helps me to take a second to really think about and focus on what I need to get accomplished. So sometimes I end up remembering other things while I'm in the midst of writing that list down that I probably wouldn't have otherwise thought about until I inevitably was reminded of the thing by either my husband, who's like, "Oh, you got that thing done, right?" Or I find myself in a situation that's reminding me of what I was supposed to remember to do, like sitting down to go pee and looking over at the empty roll beside me and being like, yes, I did need to get toilet paper yesterday, didn't I? Great. So the list method is truly one of my required lifelines that help to keep me on track. If I have everything that I need to do written out in a list, I can way more easily group the things together that need to get done that make sense getting done together, like all of the errands, all of the things having to do with the computer and things online, etc., etc. It just helps me to be able to visualize everything, make a game plan or a plan of action way, way more than my stupid little brain ever could on its own. And it's super helpful because if I ever find myself in a lull in my day or sitting around about to open up TikTok or some other time-sucking, useless thing, I can instead turn to my list and be like, all right, what else can I get started on and knock off the list? It's just a great way to refocus my energy, my efforts, and essentially not waste so much time in my day. Another really common motivation block that I've heard from a few of my coaching and consulting clients is this concept of comparison paralysis. And this is one that often isn't super apparent to us, but it just kind of eats away at us internally until it essentially leaves us feeling just completely unmotivated and overall just pretty shitty about ourselves and or about our work. It's this idea of being on social media or wherever, maybe you watch it on TV, I don't know, and seeing all of these amazing furniture painters and refinishers and content creators doing these amazing projects and getting beautiful, flawless results. And they seem to be whipping them out super quickly and easily, and they're not running into the barriers or bumps in the road that you seem to be with your pieces. Or at least they aren't sharing those publicly. So then internally, you start to feel crappy because you're just inherently comparing yourself and your success and your pieces to these people, which leaves you feeling lesser than and unmotivated to move forward because essentially, what's the point if you won't live up to them? Again, this is one that you might not realize has been slowly creeping up on you, so it could be something that you need to do a little bit of reflection on before you come to the conclusion that this is happening. This is one reason why journaling can be a really great strategy to help you to discover what's going on with you internally. I know a lot of people don't really either like journaling or just kind of don't know what to do with it, so they fall off of it pretty quickly and easily. But essentially, if you're just putting your thoughts onto paper of how you're feeling, what you're struggling with lately, what's been going great, where could you use a little bit of improvement, and just giving yourself some of those prompts and just letting whatever comes to mind go onto paper or type it out however you keep your journal, you almost always just inevitably end up where you need to be without even realizing that's where you needed to be, because you'll start to realize there's a common denominator to these issues, or, a way that you're feeling will pop up over and over again, and you can really see that tangibly and be like, hey, what's that about? What can I do? What do I need to be doing differently? Or what's going to help me out with this? And it's truly the one place where you can be just with your thoughts privately, but getting them out and forcing them onto paper or wherever just really helps you to kind of complete that mental loop where you might have a thought, but you don't quite close that loop of okay, now what? So journaling can really help with that. And if you do that and you do come to realize that you may have fallen prey to a comparison paralysis, then a social media break or limiting your screen time or your scrolling time may be in order. And remember, my dear lovely friends, that comparison is the thief of joy. And also, social media is never quite as it seems, so grain of salt with everything, all the time, grain of salt. Another question that you might need to ask yourself if you find yourself just feeling blech and unmotivated and unable to jump into the projects that you feel you need to be is to take a second and ask yourself, am I burnt out? Or am I potentially nearing the point of burnout and that's why I'm feeling this way? It's something that I don't think we ask ourselves often enough, just in general. As humans, we always like to be constantly producing and accomplishing and completing things and being on the go, go, go. But we don't often take the time to reflect on how we're actually feeling and what we need to get us back to being our normal selves. And sometimes that just requires nothingness. Some time to relax, recharge, replenish, and revive yourself. If you think that's what you need, then consider this me giving you permission to do so. Take the time, do it right, and don't do like a semi-break where you're still turned on to work halfway, and so you actually aren't taking the time and the break that you need. Do it right the first time, and you'll be back at it in no time. If it's a matter of taking time off social media, your followers won't go anywhere. They probably honestly won't even notice. We all think we're so fucking important. We're not. We're a little blip on this tiny earth that is so incredibly insignificant, but in the best kind of way, because these things that we think are such big decisions, oh my god, but I couldn't possibly take a week off. There would be an uproar and people would be messaging me and they would be so mad that I didn't post a makeover today. No, they wouldn't, because you know why? There are 13,564 other people posting a furniture makeover right this second somewhere online. So although I'm sure these people, when they come across yours, they love it. They love your content. They love your work. They encourage you. They support you, all those great things. But because of that, because they encourage and support you, they want to see you succeed. And I guarantee whatever it is that you need to succeed, which might be taking a break right now, they're going to fully support. They're going to be there when you come back. And you know, like the saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. They maybe will realize that you're gone, and then when you come back, they'll be like, oh my god, I'm so happy that they're back, and they're gonna like lean in even harder to your content and your work, and you're gonna feel great because you took that time. So it's gonna be like win-win on all fronts. So remember, we are all insignificant. Do what you gotta do. Don't be a hero. Literally nobody is gonna notice, and it's just gonna be to your detriment. So do it right the first time, and you'll be back at it in no time. And sometimes what you may need is not a break altogether from all things furniture refinishing and business and whatnot, but you might just need some time out of the workshop physically doing furniture makeovers themselves. Whether it's like an actual physical break you need, you know, your body's been working hard, you don't have the same energy levels, whatever it might be, there's still things that you can get accomplished. So if that's the case, then by all means, take the time. But consider that you could use this time wisely, even if you aren't actually making over any pieces, but you also still want to be working and be productive. Here's a few ideas for what you could use that time to do, which might be things that are on your kind of higher level to-do list, but you never get around to doing them or setting aside the time to do so. Number 1, build a website or revamp yours if you already have one, or switch up the copy, or go through it and make sure there's no broken links or something else to help improve the website. Number 2, work on setting up systems in your business to automate tasks and to save you time and energy when you come back. Number 3, do some receipt tracking that you've been putting off that will help save you time come tax season. And it's currently tax season, so if you haven't done that yet, then maybe you need to take some time to get that done because like the deadline's coming soon. Number 4, batch create some content or use existing content that you have to prep various videos and other types of content using those same clips. Remember, work smart, not hard. You probably have so much in your camera roll that you can put a trending sound over, you could turn it into an education lesson, you could do a voiceover, maybe it's ASMR vibes. There's so many things that you can do with the content you already have if you don't feel like being in front of the camera. Get creative. And again, like don't think so much about it. Don't look into it too hard. Social media, it's not rocket science. Number 5, you could do some networking, either with other refinishers or even other businesses in your area, or more widely, that could potentially turn into business relationships or partnerships down the line. Or number 6, if you need to do something with your hands, you could reorganize your workshop or your supplies and take stock of what you have so that you know what you'll need to order more of soon. There are tons of possibilities for ways that you can still move the needle forward in your furniture flipping business or side hustle without actually having to do any furniture flipping in that moment. Another tactic that I find really helpful when I need to get my motivation juices flowing is to look back on my past work and accomplishments or words from my followers and past clients to really get me going. It just helps to remind me why I do what I do, the impact that I have on others, and just generally gives me a little dopamine rush, which sometimes is really all you need. I personally use Google Drive to store and organize all of my documents and photos and whatnot, so I just have a folder in there called Feeling Inspired, and whenever I get a sweet message or email from one of you about my work, the podcast, feedback from a client about a piece I did for them, or something that I did or said that motivated or inspired you, I take a screenshot and I pop it in there for when I need it. So if you have ever sent something like that to me, just know that it's probably in there, and I probably look back on it on days when I'm not feeling super motivated and I don't really feel like doing what I'm doing, or I'm like, what's the point? And your words help to motivate me in the ways that I hope to motivate you here like I am now. So it's all just a vicious circle of kicking each other's asses into gear. So if you've sent that, I thank you, because you're probably part of the reason that I'm still here doing this today. And I first adopted this practice actually back when I used to work in social services as a caseworker. And when I would get any kind of message from a client of mine basically saying like, thank you for helping me, or letting me know how I made an impact in their lives, or, how I was unique as a worker compared to other people they've worked with or whatever, I would print it and I would put it in a notebook that I kept. And I still have to this day, I might add. And essentially, I would do the same thing as I do now. On days when I was feeling tired or maybe a little burnt out or annoyed with the work because it was difficult work that I was doing with high acuity clients, I would just refer back to that notebook to give me that little squeeze of motivation juice that I needed, and a reminder of why I was doing that work and how, even if it didn't feel like it was paying off in that moment when maybe, a client that was having really good forward momentum did 3 steps back, or, something that looked like it was going to pay off doesn't end up coming to fruition, I would look back at that notebook and know that eventually it would positively impact someone's life, the work that I was doing, and that's really what it was all about. So if you don't already do this and you find that you're the kind of person that can get really inspired and motivated by those external forces or reminders, then I would absolutely recommend that you start. Like I said, it doesn't have to be any convoluted system or anything. You can even just take screenshots and keep them in your photo library. But I just find when I can't find that motivation internally within myself to get going, sometimes looking to those external forces is what can really help me to get over that hump and back into myself. And if you are someone who finds that those external forces are the things that help to get you feeling accountable and motivated to move forward, then might I also make a suggestion? It could really benefit you to sign up for one of the BusyBees in Business strategy sessions that I'm now offering to help you get your side hustle or business to where you want it to be. These complimentary one-on-one coaching and consulting sessions will be posted on the podcast so that others can learn from the same things that you may be struggling with or a challenge that you're currently working through, and we'll come up with a plan of action that you can take with you and implement immediately to start seeing the changes that you're looking for. Knowledge is power, so sharing these real-life examples will just be so helpful for the other BusyBees that are out there who are also currently experiencing something similar. So you can sign up for a BusyBees in Business strategy session through the link in the show notes of this episode if you're interested. And make sure you do so quickly because spots have been filling up fast for the first round of sessions that I'll be offering, so get in there before it's too late. And my final tip or recommendation for addressing this lack of motivation or energy that you're feeling to do your furniture makeovers is to remember one very important thing. Motivation is an emotion, not a thing or an action. You feel motivated, and in order to feel it, usually you need to just start. whatever it is you need to do, just start. Then that action that you took creates the feeling or the emotion of motivation within you once you start seeing things getting done and seeing your to-do list dwindle. That's why on the days that I hit the gym, I feel like I can tackle the world and get so much accomplished because I have the energy due to having taken action, gotten my ass to the gym, and created the motivation to continue on having a productive day. It's also why motivation experts or scientists and other people with titles that I can't think of currently recommend making your bed first thing in the morning when you get up. It's not because it makes the bed feel cozier to get into at the end of the night. It's not because it looks nicer in your room. It's because that's the first thing in your day that you can do, that you can accomplish, and start your day off already being productive so that you feel that motivation to keep your energy flowing in that direction. So essentially, my tip here is that sometimes you just need to push through and get started and trust that the rest will follow as it should. And something you may not know about me, I love little motivational messages. They get me fired up, so I keep a running list of ones that are catchy or speak to me in the Notes app on my phone. And I end every podcast episode with one that I've noted down over the years in hopes that you leave our time here each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way this week. So this week's Mel's motivational message is, put yourself on your to-do list. And that's an order, not a request. Like I said, we're always so go, go, go. Our society, Western society at least, is always so focused on what you're producing and how much work you're accomplishing and getting things done and doing more and being busier. And sure, maybe all those things are great. Maybe they help you to get to the things that you value, like success or money or fulfillment in some way. But at the end of the day, if we're just pushing and filling up our calendars and never giving ourselves time to look inward at what we need to be well and to sustain this lifestyle, whatever your lifestyle may look like long term in this body, by the way, the only body that you're going to get in this lifetime, you need to put yourself on your to-do list because that pushing, that grinding, that hustling, it only lasts so long before you inevitably start to plummet and your body just won't keep up. And if it's not your body, it's going to be your mind or something else that's pretty critical to your day-to-day functioning. And that's why so often we see, these people that are really high-achieving people and who have a lot of success or notoriety. And, there can be really somatic impacts that come from that stress and that never-ending pushing on their body and never taking time to fuel it in the way that it needs and nurture it and nourish it. So if you're not taking the time to put yourself on your to-do list now, however old you are, at whatever stage of life you're at, whatever level of health or fitness or mental fortitude or whatever it is, today needs to be the day that you put yourself on your to-do list if you aren't already, because all those other things won't mean shit if you fucking die tomorrow, bud. Was that the most Canadian thing I've ever said? Maybe. But it's just that eventually you won't be able to keep up with that lifestyle. So take the time, really reflect on what it is that you need to feel that replenishment within you, what you need to do to your body to treat it well, what you need to do for your mind to keep it intact and working for you, not against you, and what you need to implement in your life to feel just overall fulfilled and that you have a fulsome life. If you're someone that grinds too hard at work, then chances are you're taking from other buckets in your life, whether it be your family time, your friends' time, you time, your health and wellness, your other interests or hobbies, whatever it is that makes you who you are. If you're leaning too hard in one direction, then you're taking from those other cups. So be aware of that anytime you choose to make a decision that's really leaning into one of those buckets that aren't going to be adding to your cup, and know that you can only do that for so long before it runs dry. And you're going to have to work way harder to get it back to where it was once you hit that versus if you just maintained a good balance earlier on, found things that work for you, and continually do them. Put yourself on your to-do list today. Whether it's a physical list on a sticky note, whether it's in your notes app on your phone, whether you use an app for your to-do list, whether you're one of those people who can keep it in your head, good for you. Put it there, remember it, water that seed often, and keep doing you, baby. All right, that's it for now. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys next week.